Hi everyone, this is Cus Fragoso and I'm here with Scarlett and Joe. We just met a few weeks ago and I was really fascinated for what they are doing. And thank you very much for inviting me here
of course.
to your property. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourselves before we start?
I'm Scarlett Joe. This is Joe Joe, and we're foragers and homesteaders in Waller, Texas.
Joe Cedillo, like she mentioned.
Yeah.
And yes, I grew up in this area our family's been here over 50 something years. And so we grew up in this area, kind of living in the country.
Can you tell us a little bit about foraging? In general.
So I went to college for forestry, and when I was following my professors through the woods, they would be snacking on things, and I was fascinated. So I started researching it, and now whenever we're on our property, we don't necessarily have to garden. We can pick the native natural plants to accentuate our diets and have fun and enjoy what nature has.
Okay, so what would you use that for? What do you think that could be useful for the people in general?
Everything. I love foraging because it's a way to commune with nature. It's a different way to enjoy the environment and interact with it. Instead of just listening and seeing it, you're actually tasting it and interacting with it. But it's also a fun way to get people excited about food. Adding flowers to salads and things just adds that magic, but it's also nutritious. There's medicine and food right here all around us that we can access for free. It's in our yards. As long as we nurture it, it'll nurture us back. That's part of my love affair with foraging.
Great. Okay, so we were actually walking, but then Joe started telling us about what you're doing here. So why don't we just keep walking and you keep explaining what we have?
What we're trying to do is basically eradicate the sedge. The sedge is an invasive grass here, and it tends to take over pastures, fields. So about a week or two ago, we came in and we burned it. Okay. We mowed it, we burned it, and basically we're trying to kill it off because it is beginning to be fall and winter. We wanted to put down ryegrass that'll hopefully gain superiority over it to eventually we want to get rid of the grasses that our animals can't eat. So that's the end goal, is to put something that animals can't eat.
Great. So this is very normal for you, right?
Yeah.
It's like everyday life.
Yeah, we do this daily. There's not a day off.
But what is fascinating to me is that this sounds so different from the world that we live in. But for you, it's like a big gap happening, right? But for me, what you know, it's really amazing. It's actually very valuable, right? But not many people see it.
Yeah, it's something that we love sharing with people because it's simple. It's simple and it's right here. It's not something super complex that you have to go figure out. It's right here, and in the city, it's in your yards too. It's just, you might not realize it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know where this is going to take us, but we were talking about creating probably a few programs so people can learn about this, because there's people that probably they don't even know they can do something like this or develop those skills.
Right.
But there's people that they are already trying to learn something like what you already know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of curiosity and interest in kind of what's growing around us, particularly in families and kiddos coming out, but just about anybody. You're not going to walk through the woods and see a plant like that with bright purple berries without wondering, what is that? Sure. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my kids' favorites.
So that's purple berries.
Bright purple berries. That's beautyberry.
Okay.
American beautyberry. It has a really neat flavor. It's a little bit like if you mixed lavender and raspberry. So it's got a floral flavor and sort of a bright fruity flavor. Makes amazing jams. But my kids and I love to just eat it raw, pop it on some salad, put put it in cookies. I made lemon lavender beautyberry cookies the other day, and they didn't last. The teenagers took all of them. But it's right there, and it's delicious and wonderful. And you can find that in the city too. It doesn't just grow in my yard. It grows everywhere, and it draws you. You see it and you want to know, what is that? The cool thing about the leaves is that they help a little bit with insect repellent. So that was one of the first ones I noticed with my professors, is they would grab the leaves and stick them in their hard hat as we walk through the woods. Well, having them in your pockets or your hard hat, or rubbing them on your clothes, not on your skin, rub them on your clothes, and it'll help repel insects and mosquitoes and things. So that plant is amazingly valuable, and that's just the first one.
You just, with what you just said, I have so many questions. First one, kids.
Yes.
How is it, from your perspective, that your kids are growing in this environment? And of course, I would like to hear yours too, because you actually grew up in this environment. So, but you first.
Yeah, we kind of have the opposite upbringing. He grew up out here. I grew up in the city of Houston and moved out here as quickly as I could. But my kids go to school, and one thing we started noticing is kids don't know where their food comes from today. Milk comes from a carton at the store. Eggs come from a carton at the store. Fruit comes from a jar or from the produce section. So when I come out and show my kids or my nieces or nephews or friends that that's a fruit right there that they can pick and enjoy, it connects them to where their food comes from, and it grounds you, and it connects you to the world around you. But also we can discuss making good choices and knowing what you touch before you touch it. And it helps them start to develop those critical thinking skills. Is this one safe for me to touch or not? What do I know about it? And it opens up to so many different life skill discussions with the little ones, but in an exciting way. They actually want to learn it. So my kiddos love it. And they'll take it in their lunch boxes at school, and I have to write a note to the teacher and explain, like, this is okay, this is beauty berries.
It's not
spread
poison.
the knowledge. Yes. They didn't sneak it in there.
It is very interesting, because you grew up in like a city.
Yes, downtown Houston.
Yeah, downtown Houston. And then you have your kids here. Can you tell us a little bit more about, I don't know, trying to explain those two very different worlds? I mean, I guess you feel very proud of them, giving them a
different experience. I mean, I love cities. I think cities provide so many opportunities, but I think we're so far removed from the world around us. You can't make that connection until you really spend time in it. So giving kids that first, for me, was important. Know about the world around you, know about the earth, connect with the earth. And then when you go to the city, you can enjoy it, but you know where all of that came from.
What do you think we're getting far from in the city?
I think there's a big disconnect. One of the things that we say this in a kind way, I don't want this to sound judgmental, but a lot of people move to the country out here, and there's two theories of living in the country. There's people who live with the land and people who live on it. And a lot of the people in the city live on the land, not intentionally, not in an unkind way, but they're disconnected from it. They don't understand how to live with it. People move out here, and the first things they want to do is clear all of this. And then they want to know, how do I get something in my yard? And they go to the store and they have to buy a plant and they have to plant it, which gardening is wonderful, but you don't have to get rid of what was already here. You can garden with it. And that's part of it, in understanding the world and living with the land and having a relationship with it that you don't get in the city. I don't think that's my
so maybe they want it to look pretty beautiful, but on your perspective, this is already beautiful.
Yes.
Different kind of beautiful.
And they might just not understand it. A lot of people come out and you see this and it can look dangerous. Is there a coyote hiding in there? Is there a snake? Do I need to clear this so my children will be safe? Well, no, I can teach my children how to interact safely, understand these animals' behaviors and where they might be, what they might be doing, and then we can begin to walk around in pitch black out here and not be afraid. We understand it because we've taken time to get to know it. So you don't need to clear it. You just need to learn to understand it.
That's amazing. Joe, really, I'm loving this.
Yes.
Joe, you told me that you lived here in the area for a long time, and then, for us, there's nothing here, but for you,
for us,
tell us what's happening, because I love what you were telling us.
Yeah, so we've having, like I said, grown up out here, riding horses out here, when you wouldn't see cars, or if you saw a car, it was few and far between. And now, and your neighbors, I mean, there weren't as many houses. So now you see the growth. And yes, to most people it is, oh man, you live in the country, you live far. Having been submerged in it, that's kind of not the case anymore. So we did grow up. Back then we didn't call it foraging, right?
Mhm.
You just ate it. You picked blackberries every year. You picked honeysuckle, any wild fruits that might have grown. It was not called foraging back then. Foraging's been a little more popular these days. So I think it has a name now. But that's what you did. You lived off the land. You fished in the creek. You just went out in the woods and got lost for hours on end. And so, but yeah, it's growing, and we work so hard to keep secluded here. We actually did have closer neighbors, but because of the growing population in Houston, more power lines were added and our neighbors were taken out. And that actually exposed us to more sunlight, getting rid of a lot of trees. So we're working hard to try to get the trees to come back to kind of replace.
What would you say is, because for you, you're trying to get away from the urban environment, and because you already what you already have is very valuable, right? What would you say, or try to describe what's the richness of this for you?
I think we overcomplicate things. Like Scarlett was saying, everyone thinks eggs come from a carton, milk comes from a carton. I think we kind of bring it back to simplicity. We try not to just overthink it. We don't water. We don't fertilize. We don't come in and thin it. We're not in here, you can see here we have trees that fall and we leave it. This will eventually compost. Okay. It will. It'll create good habitat for animals.
Lion's head mushrooms, which are amazing.
Yes, we have mushrooms that grow. So sometimes less work can be better, but your average person is going to say, well, why haven't you moved this? Why haven't you mowed this? And it's like, it has its purpose, because there might be a rabbit hidden in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of bunnies.
I don't want, an animal that's full of pesticides, herbicides, that's been eaten on some grass, sprayed with God knows what. So if my kids want to come out here and shoot a rabbit because we want to eat rabbit,
right?
So be it, and we know where it came from. We know what it ate. We know what it did not get into.
So let me say it this way: we humans believe that we're fooling ourselves, believing that we're making life better, but we are actually losing the true value of our origins, right?
Yeah.
I remember this, a few weeks ago I saw this movie 1492, which is about the discovery of America. And when Columbus first came to America and then started being with these Indians and goes back to Spain, and they ask him, hey, what can we offer them? And he said, there's nothing we can offer to them. They are already living in paradise. And this is what I'm perceiving right here, right? And I love it, because that's where I would like to go, to live a simpler life and not a more complex,
Yeah.
because then you lose happiness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this misunderstanding that we need to overcomplicate it, that we need to have control over all of this. And you don't. It's okay to not have control over the land around you. But I know in the city and with HOAs and things, people have to have control over their grass height. You have to have control over how far your grass grows and what grows in your yard. And it is your job. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can move somewhere where there aren't rules and restrictions. And it's your partner. This is your land, and you're not working that hard. And you are getting to go out and enjoy it. And it is different every day. And you do start to live by the seasons. Like if we do a forage walk right now, I'm going to walk you and show you foods that are very different than I would show you in the spring.
Let's keep walking.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. Thank you.
This guy right here, this vine, I'm talking about seasonality. This is greenbrier. There's nothing to eat on him right now unless you really needed to. But in the spring, his tips of his new growth is going to be soft and tender, and we call it Texas asparagus. So you just go along, and as he starts to grow out new bits in the spring on the end, you pop them off and you can eat them raw, and they're sweet and crunchy, or you throw them in salads, you cook them like asparagus. So seasonally, this guy is going to be one of the first things I look for in the spring.
Yeah, so you get used to eat what the season offers, right?
Yeah.
Right now you can find fruits or vegetables all year around.
In the store, you can go get asparagus that was sort of encouraged to grow out of season. But here, you get to look forward to it, and it's kind of exciting when you get it. And it's a treat because it's come up and you've waited all year for it. And then there's other things that we're eating now. And so things are more special and more exciting because they aren't just readily available every day, any minute you want.
Right.
So he's another really fun one.
Nice. You have a lot of animals. Well, some. What do you have?
We have a lot of chickens. We have sheep, not very many, just enough for us. We have some goats that we milk. We have alpacas that are hiding right now.
Really?
That are for fiber. And then we usually have cows, but we don't have any right this moment.
Okay. What do we have
talk
here,
about
Joe?
this guy? Me? You
Yeah.
want me to do it? The Yopon.
Yopon.
Yopon's a lot of fun because it's our only caffeinated plant in North
Oh.
America.
Okay.
So you make a tea out of it just like you would a tea plant. You pick your leaves or your branches, you hang it
These
to dry.
leaves? Okay. How long
And,
do you dry them, or how do you know?
Until they're dry and they'll crunch in your
Okay.
fingers. It's going to be different for each plant. Like this is a shaded plant versus one that's growing out in the sun. They're going to act a little different. And that's
Okay.
where, again, the relationships with nature, you have to get to know. There's not one thing that's going to work, but you pick them and hang them. Again, typically with anything you're picking, you want the younger, tender versions
Yeah.
because the older guys, the big, older leaves are going to be a little bit,
Okay.
I don't know, denser and less nutrient based. Try it, make it a tea just like you would
Perfect.
tea. Caffeine, it's delicious.
Yeah. And again, in the future, my vision is that we could create these very specific programs more
Mhm.
with more details, so we can actually tell people
Mhm.
how to do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what's the story of that?
The
Truck.
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 So the truck here is a kind of a photo background shoot.
It's
I actually bought this from someone in Houston that was selling his property. And we moved it here.
cool.
My kids and I redid the bed so that people could actually sit up here. Each guest, this is a 55 Studebaker.
Nice.
Yeah, doesn't run, but guests
But
that
it's still
stay
a
here at
treasure.
the cabin can come and write on it. We leave markers for them, and they can kind of.
So can we stay here?
Anybody can. It's an Airbnb.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll bring my family then.
Yeah, of course. There's a skunk down there, so I don't want to get too close to it because it is very stinky right now. That's one of the things with living in nature. You gotta, every once in a while they win. You have to give them their space. And this is one of our, people always get mad when you leave dead trees up, but that dead tree is home to pileated woodpeckers, There's a small, I don't know if he's just a bachelor bat, but I have seen a bat coming in and out, so I don't know if he's trying to set up a colony or if it's a she setting up a colony. But then also you see the hawks and owls sitting and waiting there to hunt, probably in this open area. So, you know, it's simple. This is not a job somebody needs to come out and do. We do not need to come out and take this tree down. It's not something to put on our to-do list. It's just part of nature, and it's just fine the way it is.
I'm curious, what time do you wake up or go to sleep? I'm just curious if living here affects that somehow, or do you already?
It depends on the season and how late the sun's up. In the summer, I mean, we don't go to bed till 2 a.m., but we get up at 6:45.
Yeah.
In the winter, the sun goes down a little earlier, so we get to bed closer to midnight. But no, you come out at night. It's a different world. You come out and you see the stars, and the animals are easier to put up. The chickens are ready to go to bed, and so we spend a lot of time outside.
Nice. What impact do you think living here has on your, not only your health, but also your mind, your brain, your personality?
I think I'm a lot calmer than I was when I worked in the city. There's always something to listen to or look at. So I think we just move a little slower, think a little slower, and it helps us be calmer and more connected to kind of what's going on in the moment. At least from my perspective, you know, when I was working in the city, I was always in a rush. I was always stressed out. Something was always super important and needed my attention right that moment. And there's a little more balance now to me in my head, but I'm not sure. I think to my kids, it's kind of the opposite to them. It's a giant jungle gym, and they're in a playground all the time.
Yes.
They can go do anything they want. Like there used to be, before this cabin was here, there used to be a zip line on this tree that he had built for them. And they would come out, and it was from the big tree to this tree, and they would play on the zip line in the woods. You know,
they like it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And
they don't have this kind of wish of going to the city, or
all of the big kids did.
Yes.
They all moved to the city and have all started asking if we'd rent them back, if they can move back, if they can come help on the farm.
Really?
They went and did it, and they're all ready to come home. And we're
Why?
Like,
Yeah.
What was their reasoning?
I think they're starting
I think
to
it's
see.
calmer. I think it's less stressful. I think they're starting to see that, and the food. They always want to come home for the food. You know,
I can see it.
cleaner meals.
I always loved this, but I guess many people, they cannot really see it. Do you agree?
I think
Yeah.
I think you have to take it in doses until you get used to it and realize you're okay out here. We've had a lot of guests who come to the Airbnb and just love it, but I've had ones who come and they're afraid.
Yes.
It's in the woods. Am I safe? And it's funny. A lot of the questions I get are like, I don't know who's out there. And we're still more afraid of society than we are of the woods. And it's like, we're in the woods here. We're in. The neat thing about, like he was saying, you don't have as many neighbors, so you know your neighbors, and we have to work together because our fences have to work. Because if somebody has a bull, the fences have to be secure. Yes. So we do know our neighbors really well, and so I'm not afraid to walk out here pitch black at night. I'm not afraid of the animals or the people. Yeah. And I was when I moved here, and so it's like, I think slowly coming out and realizing that it's a sanctuary, not something to be concerned about or worried about. It's a very special place, and as long as you respect it, it'll respect you, and it's going to be fun.
Nice.
It's going to be fun.
I love it.
If we
Do you
get
think
too
we
much
can
closer,
see the cabin? Or is there someone?
No, we can go to the
It's
cabin.
fine.
It's just going to smell.
It's okay. I mean, probably for people that wants to see it, and maybe they want to.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put your information.
Sure, it is a little bit messy. I have not turned it over yet.
We can just go around.
Yeah, it just, I'm worried.
Yeah.
Mira.
Yeah, I see it.
So maybe
This
you have a
cabin
fire
was
pit area.
scheduled to be demolished.
Really?
It was in the power line easement,
Oh.
which is over there. And with many, many months of fighting with the energy company and negotiating,
Negotiating.
we finally negotiated some land for the house. And we had someone, the house was originally on a slab, so it was on concrete. And we called every mover in the country, or in the state,
All of
in
Texas
the state,
and
to
some
see
people in
who could do
Oklahoma.
it, who could pick it up to move it, and no one could do it. In the end, I found someone that actually lives 3 doors down from where I grew up. After calling Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, you name it, we called everyone. And we had it moved in with an 18-wheeler. Picked up, took about a month to pick up, and then loaded on an 18-wheeler and moved it in.
Wow.
This was heavily wooded originally. This was kind of one of the exceptions to thinning the trees. We don't like to thin trees unless they naturally fall. But trying to get an 18-wheeler in here to turn and be able to leave was a process. So,
but we handpicked the trees, and he was really patient about it. They were fantastic, and so it was a really fun experience.
When was
getting
that?
to save it.
This was about 6-7 years ago.
Okay. That's actually a really beautiful view. I love it.
And that's part of you just sit on the porch and enjoy it and be calm.
What do you have to say about stress? Because you said this has helped you to be more calm.
Yeah.
But one thing that I realize is that we accumulate a lot of stress and we don't even realize that we are.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you even notice.
No, I do.
because you're here, but just by me being here, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes is like,
oh, good.
Probably I could just go to that.
Yes, please do. That's
Many people do. Many people do. We've replaced it many times.
Yeah. No, and that's.
And take a nap in the middle of the day.
That's
right?
Perfect. Yeah. That's what we love about it, and that's, I don't know, letting go and relaxing and just letting nature come to you and just appreciate that there's not a to-do list. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to worry about anything. It's right here. If you want to snack, you can go snack on some beauty berries and then relax and hang out.
And we've had many people come and pick blackberries. In the springtime, the blackberries fill this whole property.
That whole thing is a blackberry
And we
patch.
tell them, have at it. Pick as many blackberries as you want. And they're all wild. The diversity in the blackberries, the flavors from each plant to plant to plant will just blow your mind compared to what you're going to get at the store, where there are these large, unflavored blackberries. It's bad. Call it what it is. They're bad. But you come here and it's just a whole different flavor. It's just a whole different taste of what you're going to get in a pie. Cobbler.
They all taste a little bit
jellies.
different. You can have little ones and big ones, and whether if they're in the shade versus in the sun, because on the other side of the property we have a big patch that grows in the sun. They taste completely different than the ones that grow here in the shade.
Yeah.
But
those are the alpacas, right?
Yeah, they'll come over. Let me grab their food bucket if y'all want to say hello to an alpaca.
Okay.
Oh, it might be empty. Never mind. It's empty, but we'll see if they
How do they know if...
They'll trick. Huh?
Do you call them or what?
Yeah, well, they'll see the food bucket and they'll be like, oh, she has food. And then they'll be mad at me for a moment, but I will make it up to them later.
So you're just living with nature. It's not that you don't have technology, right? Because some people who think that is like, oh, I don't want technology at all.
I think technology is incredibly valuable in the right situations.
Yes.
Ladies, come on, Twirl. Lead the group. I know you see me. But we figured out we need a lot less. We don't have any. We only have an old school antenna for our TV, so we get the free channels and that's it. We don't have Wi-Fi anymore. We don't really need it. I do have a phone. It does have internet. I do research because there's a lot of really great foragers out there and other resources where you can learn. But it's in moderation. You find out here you don't need it as much as you thought you did.
Moderation, that's a word.
Don't need games. Like my kids, they're my little ones, my 2 and 4-year-old. I'll give them access to a tablet if they want. They're gonna put it down and come outside. They're not. They're not as interested. Twirl.
We've had a lot of people actually thank us that there's no Wi-Fi
See if I
here.
can get their attention.
We've had people come and see, you know, because their kids can't
Twirl.
use the internet. And up until about 2 years ago, the cell service was bad. So you were forced to go without your phone.
I know you can see me.
You were in the cabin, your phone
you're
was
thinking
not
about
gonna
it.
work.
Come on.
But we've had a lot of people, I think she's had over 400 guests, and I think we've had about 3 people ask us for Wi-Fi.
Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's crazy. There's no satellite. You either watch a couple of DVDs we provide,
Here
or
she
the couple
comes.
of channels that come in. But
Oh,
other
there
than
they
that,
come.
Sorry about that. Just took her a minute to notice.
the goal is to get people to come outside and enjoy.
Where do you bring them from? I didn't
The
know.
alpacas.
I mean, I only saw them in Peru.
I would love to go see them in Peru.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few breeders in Texas who
Oh,
raise them
really?
for the fiber. And
Okay.
most of these girls came from a farm here, Tejas alpacas. And then the gentleman in the back who doesn't get to run with the ladies. And this other dark lady walking towards us came from Schmiley alpacas in Franklin, Texas. So they're all Texas girls.
So what do you do? How do you get the fiber?
So in April, May, you shave them. And there's 2 different types. That's a Surrey alpaca, and this is a Hokkaya. And so they're fuzzier. They're the ones who are going to look like teddy bears when they're all grown out. And these look almost like they have dreadlocks, long curls. And you take it, you shave it off, you clean it up, and then you can spin it. You can leave it natural colors or dye it, and it becomes yarn. You can turn into rugs or clothes or just about anything you want.
Nice.
Yeah, they're really good for, oddly enough, helping with some of the invasive plants that we don't want here, like the sedge. They'll eat down the sedge. Cherry,
Really?
that's a stick. What are you doing? Thank you for showing off how graceful you are. But they're also really soft on the land. A lot of people, when you move to the country, you want to get animals. So you get horses or sheep or goats or cows. But they're really hard on the ground, and you can only have a few, or they're gonna beat up the ground. They're gonna compact it and make it too hard. And then your grass isn't gonna grow. Your native plants aren't gonna grow. These guys have toenails and not hooves. They're much softer on the ground. And so you can have them and a native ecosystem a little bit easier. And y'all are looking so sweet.
Yeah.
Look at y'all talking.
Nice.
So we enjoy them, but
You said moderation.
I feel
We
like
don't
that's,
see that a lot.
I feel like that's kind of
What,
the key to
what
everything.
can you
out
tell
here.
us about the excess of everything in the world? I mean, I see is making the brains of so many people to get crazy and just get really far from what we should be as humans.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your take on that?
That's a big thing we actually talk about a lot these days. Is too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Too much of a good thing can actually add more stress.
Yeah.
Because it's more work, and you start to feel that guilt that you know you were supposed to be doing something else, and now you're doing this. But forcing yourself to consider moderation when you do things actually makes your life easier, makes it more simple to us out here, I guess. Like, it's not no sugar ever, it's sugar in moderation. Like, have a treat or have it natural from your yard or have something sweet. It's not I'm going to raise 300 alpacas and make $1 million. It's I'm going to have a few that give us enough for what we need and for our life. Like for our sheep that we raise, we have 2. We get 2 lambs a year. That's enough for our family. We are not needing to raise 30 of them to sell to make money for our farm. We just make things last longer if we can. Our trucks are all, you saw earlier, we have a fleet because we have a lot of kids, but a couple of our trucks have over 400,000 miles. Like,
Wow.
you take care of things, and you don't need the excess of all the fancy bells and whistles and all the fancy stuff. You just sort of work with what you got.
I don't know if some people would like to hear that from you, because this country is the opposite.
It is. It is. And
I think
It's like-
every truck is over at least 200,000
Yeah, they have
miles.
one
So
that's-
this country is about selling you
Yes.
everything
yeah.
every time they
Mhm.
can, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. And it's hard when, particularly, like when you have teenagers and you're trying to have the conversation, and their friends at school or around them have the newest best thing, and you're trying to tell them, you can get that, but you don't need it. And they almost have to go out and experience it for themselves first. They sort of have to work really hard,
Get
get
it?
a job, spend all their money on it, and realize, okay, this isn't really getting
This
me where
was
I
not
want to go.
happiness.
Yeah.
They told me this was happiness, but it is not.
It is not.
It isn't. And all of a sudden they start calling you, wanting to come back to the farm and wanting to know if they can just rent one of the trucks from you and just hang out. So it is a hard sell.
I really like this. I feel very calm by being here. I feel inspired. Is there any kind of final message that you would like to tell people that you consider is very important for humans right now?
Do you have anything?
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Keep
That's
it
it.
simple. The more you add, the more stress you are going to add. I mean, think about everything that stresses you out. It's probably silly. It's probably, how am I going to put food on the table? Check. It's done. How am I going to, I don't know, just get away from the sounds? I mean, you've heard some of the birds outside, cars going by, whatever it is, things like that stress you out.
I think the thing I would say is that you don't have to wait. A lot of the people we talk to who come out and they love this and they enjoy it, and they're like, as soon as I retire, as soon as I get to this point in my life, as soon as I have this amount of money saved, as soon as the kids are out of the house, don't wait. Just start somewhere, because if you wait, it's that much longer that you've robbed yourself of starting with some of these experiences. There's little experiences everywhere, and you can get peace and connection with nature and adventures and things as a family. You don't need to worry about, I mean, I'm not telling people that their money worries are silly. Obviously, we all have to get by day to day, but don't wait. Don't give yourself a limit on, I'm not going to start living until I reach this point, or I'm not going to start trying these things that I'm interested in until I reach a certain guideline. It's something as simple as, like, we met at Victoria's Natural Market, at Bambi's. Just go visit.
Yeah.
Start
go
visiting a
visit
natural
Bambi.
market. Yeah, please.
She's great.
Yeah. Go take a foraging class somewhere. Go take a sourdough class. Go meet an alpaca at alpaca farm. Start somewhere. Just get out. Don't limit yourself to a timeline. Don't set a timetable. Don't say, one day when this happens, I'm going to start exploring this thing that I want to explore. Get out there and explore now, because I mean, time is a big question mark in life, but also is your energy levels. Like, don't wait till it's, I don't want to say too late, but don't wait till it's a thing that you wish you had done sooner.
Yeah.
Start now. Like, now is the best time to start exploring.
Great. I really love this. I hope we can do something else, make a few programs about something more specific that
Yeah.
people around the country or even around the world can start applying.
Yeah.
Probably moving more towards this, if that's what they want. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for
I
coming
live
out.
with two things: keep it simple and don't wait. Thank you very much. See you soon.